my channel. So today we are doing a very exciting video. It's a high-end versus drugstore makeup. Can you actually spot the difference, which is the high-end and which is the drugstore? Pause the video, go in the comments below and comment down which side do you think is the high-end side and which side is the drugstore side, because I honestly cannot spot the difference except for my lip shade, of course, which is pretty different, but yet otherwise both sides look absolutely similar, like similar to the T. So, and my eyes actually look so similar, and you guys are gonna get shocked when you actually see the dupe for the high-end side, because I did not believe that I could get the exact same eyeshadow look with two different palettes. So yeah, I am not gonna make the intro very long because the video is any which way is gonna be very long. So yeah, if y'all want to know which is the high-end side and which is the drugstore side, please keep watching. So guys, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna start with my eyebrows first. This side of the face we are gonna do the high-end side, and the left-hand side of my face I'm gonna do the drugstore or the more affordable makeup side. So we're gonna start off by doing our eyebrows on the high-end side. For that, I'm using my Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade in the shade Chocolate. What do you guys think about my new background? I feel like it looks good, but it needs a little bit more of a lighting. Anyway, if y'all feel like I have a little bit of kajal under my eyes, that's because I do. I like try to remove it with my makeup remover, but the plum kajal just does not budge, guys. I have no idea how to remove it without actually tugging my eyes. And I haven't done my eyebrows in almost like a month now. I'm trying to grow them out so that, you know, when I shape them, they are way more thicker and way more hairier. As you guys can see, I have like very scarce eyebrows. So if you guys do not know, I absolutely love the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade, and I actually need to get a shade darker. The shade Chocolate which I have right now is way brown. So to dupe the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade, I am going to be using my Be Free to Makeup Professional London Eyebrow Pomade in the shade Ash Brown. Now they both are the exact same consistency, so I can honestly say that I have been using the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade for almost 2 years now, and I'm still not done with it. So, yeah. So as you guys can see, like my eyebrows are looking pretty much very similar. The only thing is that both my eyebrows are a little bit different in color. Like this one is a little bit more brown and this is a little bit more cool tone. So otherwise they both work exactly the same. As you can see, I got the same effect on both my eyebrows. So next I am going to move on to our eyes. I've already primed my eyes, so like primer is usually not seen, so y'all can use any concealer that you have. So for our eyes, this is very exciting. I am going to be using my Modern Renaissance palette. I think it's the first time I'm using this palette on my channel. I'm not really sure, but mostly it's the first time. And we are going to dupe this palette. I'm super excited to use this, guys. I love this palette. Like, there's a good reason why people tend to use this palette, and it was such a hit because, come on guys, have you all seen the shades in this palette? Like, there are so many shades which are like, there's not one shade in this palette that is not useful, you know. First we're gonna set our concealer, which I haven't done right now. So for that I'm using this shade called as Tempera right here. It's a bone shade right there. So yeah, can you see how pigmented this palette is? Like, that was just a little bit on my brush. So the palette to dupe the Modern Renaissance palette is this. Are you ready? It's this palette right here. This is the Makeup Revolution I Heart Makeup Chocolate Wise palette, and this is what it looks from the inside. Now there are a few shades which are missing in this palette right here from the Modern Renaissance palette, but all the warm shades that you need from this palette is present in this Makeup Revolution palette. So again, we are going to set our eyes with this shade right here. This is the exact same dupe, and can you see this is also very pigmented. And Makeup Revolution eyeshadow palettes are actually pretty good because they're very pigmented. They're very good at blending as well. So I'm just gonna swatch a few dupes from this palette that match the Modern Renaissance palette, like this shade called as Primavera. So this is the shade Primavera. Beautiful champagne-y color. And to dupe that shade, we are gonna mix this shade right here and this shade right here. So can you see that's like the exact same dupe? And then let's swatch the darker brown shade. I'm first swatching so this is the Makeup Revolution one, the brownie shade in that palette. From the Modern Renaissance, we are gonna dupe that shade, which is a Cypress Umber. This shade is the dupe for Cypress Umber. So as you can see, like they're pretty much very similar. The only thing is that the Modern Renaissance palette is way more butterier. I think that's a word, right? I hope that's a word. Let's do the brown shade from the, like this brick orangey shade. We're gonna dupe this shade. So this is that shade, and the shade that we are gonna take from the Makeup Revolution palette is this shade right here, and let's swatch that. So as you can see, there's a little bit of difference in these two. The Modern Renaissance is more on the reddish tone side, and the Makeup Revolution one is more on the warmer side. But on the eyes, they pretty much look very similar. So that is the reason I chose this palette as a dupe for this palette. But there are some shades from the Modern Renaissance palette, like these shades right here, which can't be duped using the Makeup Revolution. But there are a lot of different single eyeshadows, like single eyeshadows from PAC, which can be duped for these shades. So yeah, that's a plus. For our transition shade, I'm first going to start with burnt orange, and then we are going to use the shade Real Gar on top of it. So I just literally took a lot of it. I need to tap it out. Make sure you're tapping out the excess product, because these are like very pigmented. And on the other side, we are gonna use the shade. So we are gonna use the shade right here as a transition shade. So you can see like that eyeshadow is so pigmented. So as you can see, like both the shades are pretty much very similar on the eyes. So the next shade that I'm gonna be using is the shade called as a Cypress Umber, and I am gonna apply that right at the outer corner of my eye. So as you can see, it's like super pigmented, but as you will see that it won't even take time to blend these eyeshadows. Like they blend so well. So on the affordable side, I'm going to be using this shade right here and darkening my outer crease. So as you can see that the shade is not as pigmented as the one from the Modern Renaissance palette, but once you start layering it, you are going to get that payoff. And then we are going to move on to our next shade. The next shade that I'm going to take from the Modern Renaissance palette on the high-end side is this shade called as Primavera. So I'm just using my brush dry first. And as you can see, this eyeshadow is so pigmented. let's wet the brush and then layer it. Oh yeah, wetting the brush makes a hell of a difference, yeah. To dupe that color, I am going to be using this shade and this shade right here as a mixture. I'm going to be applying it on the right hand, no, on the left hand side. So as you can see, even without wetting it, it's pretty pigmented, but I am going to wet the brush. Yeah, so much more pigment. Still feel that the Makeup Revolution one is way better than the Modern Renaissance one because it's way more metallic. So pretty much our eyeshadows are done now. I do not have a dupe for an eyeliner, so I'm just gonna apply a winged liner, some mascara and some falsies, and I'll be right back to complete our face. So guys, I just completed my eyes, like my upper eyelids, and I applied a little bit of eyeliner and my KOL Princess Lash. Now we're going to move on to the rest of our face first. Now first we're going to start with priming. So for the high-end side, I am going to be using this Dupes Hangoverx Replenishing Face Primer. I have the travel size of it with me. I am going to apply that. So as you can see, it has this very moisturizing texture, but it does smooth out my skin, and I actually love this primer. Like, I need to go and buy a full-size one. It's a pretty hydrating primer. It's not like a mattifying primer, but I like the fact that it's hydrating, and I absolutely love the smell of this primer. It's like a proper pina colada coconutty smell. And on the drugstore side, I am going to be using my Maybelline Master Prime by Faces Studio. Now, both these primers are very similar in texture. Like, even the feel of these primers are pretty much very same, and they look exactly the same. The only difference in these two primers is that this does not have the smell that the Too Faced one has. So yeah, so as you can see, it's pretty much same. So for foundation today, on the high-end side, I am going to be using my MAC Studio Fix Fluid Foundation, and I am in the shade NC37. So like, this is a foundation which I use on a regular basis. It's more of like a everyday kind of a foundation because it suits my skin type, that is oily. I'm just gonna dot it on the right side of my face, and I'm gonna blend everything out with my beauty blender. On the drugstore side, I am going to be using my PAC HD Liquid Foundation. Now, both these foundations, the MAC Studio Fix Fluid Foundation and the PAC HD Foundation, are pretty much very similar. The difference between the two is that the PAC Foundation is a little bit more luminous and the MAC Foundation is a little bit more matte. And I am in the shade 2.5 in the PAC HD Liquid Foundation, and let me tell you, this is one of my favorite foundations to apply on a regular basis as well, because it's more hydrating and it makes my foundation look more like skin. And I'm just gonna blend it out. So like, as you can see, the MAC foundation is pretty flat, and the PAC foundation has that soft matte finish. It's not completely matte, it has some luminosity, as you can see. So next we are going to move on to concealer. For the high-end side, I am going to be using my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade Medium. I'm almost done with this concealer. I need another one. I love this concealer, by the way. It's so full coverage, and the shade is also the exact match for me. And for the drugstore side or the affordable side, I am going to be using my Instant Age Rewind by Maybelline, but I wanted the shade medium, but I couldn't find mine, and I have my shade neutralizer. This is the exact same formula as the Tarte Shape Tape. It's very full coverage, the texture is very similar, everything is very similar to the Tarte Shape Tape. So yeah, this is a bang on dupe for that. But I do not have the shade medium with me right now, so I am going to mix this with my LA Girl Pro Concealer. I'm just highlighting the T-zone region a little bit with my Age Rewind, just to balance everything out a little bit. So next we are going to move on to setting our face. So on the high-end side, I'm going to be using my CoverFX matte setting powder in the shade medium. So this powder actually has a little bit of tint to it, but it's not going to alter my foundation or concealer shade. And on the affordable side, I am going to be using my Sally Hansen translucent powder. This is like not even 1/4 of the price of the CoverFX one, but it does the job. And then just taking my stippling brush and the CoverFX powder that we used on the high-end side and set my entire face with it. And I'm going to set my entire face on the affordable side with my Sally Hansen powder. So as of now, as you can see, there is like a huge difference between both the sides. Like this one, this side, the affordable side is way more lighter than the high-end side. But once we bronze and everything is gonna come together. So first I'm gonna finish my eyes, and then we are gonna move on to the rest of our face. I'm just gonna do a quick little lower lash line eyeshadow. So I'm gonna start with the shade Real Gar and apply it on our lower waterline. And we are going to take the same burnt orange shade that we use from the Makeup Revolution palette and apply it on our lower waterline on the affordable side. So I've just finished my eyes. Now let's move on to the rest of our face. For bronzer, I am going to be using my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Give Me Sun on the high-end side. This is like a very warm bronzer, but it still looks way more natural. I am bronzing up pretty much my entire perimeter of my face because I need to get a little life back. It's too flat right now. And on the affordable side, I am going to be using my LA Girl Pro Face High Definition Matte Press Powder in the shade Warm Caramel. So as you guys are seeing the trend, I usually use face powders as my bronzers. I feel that they provide me a little bit more coverage as well as the warmth that I need. So this powder is actually very pigmented, so I have to be very careful with this one. It's not like a proper buildable coverage, it's like a very pigmented powder, so I take like literally very little bit of it and start working it into my skin. And this one is way more on the reddish tone side, but yet has that warmth in it. So both are pretty much very similar in color, only this one is a hint darker, but like side by side you won't even come to know the difference. So next comes my favorite part, that is highlighter. For highlighter on the drugstore side, I am using my Jouer highlighter in the shade Citrine. This is what it looks like from the inside. It's like a proper champagne-y color. So I'm literally gonna take very little bit of it because it's very pigmented. And applying it I love this highlighter. Can you see that glow? And to dupe this citrine highlighter, I have an amazing dupe, guys. It's my all-time favorite highlighter from the drugstore. This is the Back Baked highlighter in the shade 02, and it's the exact same shade. I'm just gonna swatch both of them side by side so you all can see the exact same, like the difference between the two, which is like they are completely similar. So this is my Back Baked highlighter. You see, like they are like a bang on dupe. Like on the face, the Back Baked highlighter is more on the beigey side, and the Jouer one is more on the golden side. But on the face, they look exactly the same. And again, this highlighter is very, very blinding. Like a little bit goes a long way. Again, this highlighter does not emphasize my texture as much. And I just feel like the Back Baked highlighter is way more blinding than the Jouer one. Yeah, it is. So let's highlight our inner corners as well. I'm using the Back Baked highlighter on the right hand side. You see that? That's so pretty. And on the right hand side, we are gonna highlight with the citrine highlighter. Okay, I'm gonna highlight my nose itself with my citrine highlighter. So for lips, I actually have two formulas in my hand which are pretty similar. One is the Jeffree Star liquid lipstick in the shade Daddy, and the other one, the affordable side one, is the Pat Retro Matte Gloss in the shade 40. Now, both these liquid lipsticks are so very similar, guys. The applicator, the bottle, the formula are exactly the same, and Jeffree Star makes the best liquid lipsticks in the market. They are not at all drying, they're very opaque. So is Pack. Pack makes the exact same formula. The applicator is the same. It's very, very I won't call it hydrating, but it's not drying at all, and they're very, very opaque. So I'm not really sure whether I should use this because they are not exactly the same shade. This is way more warmer and this is way more cooler, but I'm gonna swatch it and show it to you. So this is the shade Daddy by Jeffree Star. It's more of a cool toned. The other one from Pack is the shade. So as you can see, both are very, very different nudes. Okay, I think I got my shade. I am gonna be using the Jeffree Star liquid lipstick in the shade I Am Shook, and on the affordable side, I'm gonna be using the Nykaa Mattelicious lip crayon in the shade Jade Rose. Now both the formulas are very different, but the shade is pretty similar. So guys, as y'all can see, the Jade Rose is a little bit more on the darker side and I Am Shook is more on the brighter side, you can say. But they both actually feel very, I actually feel like the Jeffree Star one is way more comfortable than the Nykaa one, which is pretty shocking because that's a liquid lipstick. So yeah, this is the final result. I hope you guys liked it. I actually am very surprised with the results because they pretty much look so similar. Can you actually spot the difference except for the lip shade? Like, look at this and look at this side. Like, they are so similar, and specifically the eyes are bang on. Like, you can't tell the difference, like which is a high-end side and which is the drugstore or the more affordable side. So yeah, I had so much fun doing it. I hope you guys liked it. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you all in my next one very soon. Until then, bye.